Welcome. Today's webinar is on Totara user management and course enrollment capabilities. My name is Dr. Tammy Frame, and I'm the Chief Education Officer at eClass for Learning. This is my contact information, but I am also recording the presentation, and everybody that signed up will receive a copy. Today we're using GoToWebinar as our webinar platform. There is an area that you can expand to ask questions, and I encourage you to do that. It makes the webinars a lot more fun. If you were not able to join us live today and you want to submit a question, feel free to email me with the email that I send you with the recording link, and I'd be happy to answer those as well. eClass for Learning provides a holistic e-learning solutions for our clients, and we have a lot of services to help get you up and learning. So some of the things are we support various LMSs, including Totara, and we are a Totara partner. We can help you develop courses. We provide professional development on best ways to learn online. We provide training on how to use different software systems like Totara. We can help you market your sites better, and we'll talk about that today a little bit. And we can help with hosting, and we can also help with e-commerce solutions, which we'll look at a little bit today too, because that touches on enrollment methods. Okay. One thing that you have to understand about Totara is that in order for somebody to be enrolled in some learning, let's say a course, they also have to be enrolled in the site, okay? And sometimes you can do both things at once, and some enrollment methods allow for that. But know that there are kind of two areas where people need to be enrolled. Overall in the site, and then also in the type of learning that you're providing. And we'll talk about all different methods today. Okay. So the first one I'm going to start with is manual enrollments. So how, and you can use manual enrollments to get people both in the site and in a course, for example. And I'm just going to leave my PowerPoint for a second and kind of show you some things about that, and we'll kind of go through the two parts. So why don't we actually do a manual enrollment on my test site here. So we don't need this right now. And I'll log in here. Okay, so when you are a site admin, you have access to the site admin settings, and we'll go there and we'll go to users and accounts, and we'll go to add a new user. Okay, so part one is there has to be a username. Typically that has to be all lowercase letters, so I'll call that test user. Other things to know here are the authentication methods. And as you can see, there's quite a few that work in Totara. We won't go over all of these today, but I'm going to go through some of the more common ones that we've done with clients. And so right now we're doing a manual enrollment, so we would leave that there. If you are ever going to manually stop somebody from being able to log in, I would recommend that you suspend them versus delete them. So suspend would mean that they can no longer access the site, but all of their data stays there, okay? Now, if you want to have the system generate a password and notify the user, you can do that. Or you can provide your own password. Now, in the site admin settings, you can set the rules of what a password has to have. So in our site admin settings, under server and security, that's how you get it, site admin server security, we set that it had to be 8 characters at least one digit, one lowercase letter, one uppercase letter, and one non-alphanumeric character, such as a asterisk, dash thing. So I'm going to go with test user number 1, okay? And then what I can do is I could do a forced password change if I wanted to. And that means that when the user logs in for the first time, they have to pick something after they log in. They have to pick their own password after that, okay? So you could do that. Anything that has a red asterisk we have to do. So I'll do test user. And by the way, I do recommend that you maybe make some test users that you can play with so you can see things from the user's perspective, or try enrolling them in different things. You can, when you're making fake users, make a fake email. It doesn't matter if it's not real. It just sort of needs to look like a email. So that's perfectly fine. These don't have asterisks, so I don't have to do them. I could pick a different, let's see, let's put it in the right time zone for me. You can drag and drop a picture. Aspirational position is kind of neat. When you set up your hierarchies with positions, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's see if I've got anybody in here. I could pick, what somebody would like to be, and that can be helpful for management or training or pushing out things later on. So that can be helpful. And I can create my user. Now, as part of Totara, that would be technically part 1 of the basic registration. But there's more that we can do, and I would suggest that you do it. And so now what we can do for part 2 is we can click on the test user, and what's new in Totara 9 is job assignments. So right now, this user has no jobs. And this is a new thing in Totara 9. It used to be positions, but now we're calling them jobs. And the reason is Totara allows a person to have more than one job. In fact, it can be unlimited and more than one manager. So maybe you report to 2 people, or maybe you have several projects and for a while you're going to be with one person, then another. You can have multiple job assignments now, and they're not calling them positions. So if we're manually doing this, what we would do is add a job assignment by going to their profile. We can write the name of it. So let's put department head 1, department head 1. Okay, now this is kind of interesting. I got kind of mixed up when I was first learning Totara 9. The ID number is not the ID number or the position ID number that might be in your hierarchy. It's the number of the job. So you could have job 1, job 2, job 3. And when I show you the bulk upload, this might make a little bit more sense. But we're going to make this job 1. Okay, and then we'll put manager 1 and position 1 and things like that. So everything goes with that. And then I could have a 2 for my second job, and I could have manager 2 and job 2. You can put in a start date. I'll put here 15. I can choose my position. So I'll go here and, whoop, no, I don't want that one. I want that one, okay. And those came from my hierarchies, that the position hierarchy. I can choose an organization. So let's go here and let's say It's going to be in Department 1. My appraiser might be the person that does my review. Okay, so I'll put down Seth, and I'll also put Seth as my manager as well. Okay, and you could have a temporary manager. Maybe your real manager is gone on a health leave or something, and you have a temporary manager, and then you can put when they expire. And then we can add the job assignments. And now in my profile, job 1, department head, if I click on that, I get all of the information we just entered. Okay, so that's how we could manually add somebody into the site, but they're really not in any courses right now. So if I wanted to manually enroll somebody in a course, and we'll talk about programs and certifications and things like that in a little bit, but if I manually wanted to add them to a course, I have to go to the course. So there's, let's go to courses. And let's go to my blended learning class, and let's add the test user. So when you are site admin, you can have both site admin rights and you have ultimate rights to everything. So when you go in a course, you will also have course admin rights. Otherwise, an instructor would also have course admin rights, and they could add a user too. And so you go to users, you go to enrolled users, and now I can look for, enroll users here, and they're going to be a learner. And notice we could set up cohorts and enroll a cohort too, but I'm going to put in test, and let's see, there's test user, and enroll them in the course. Okay, and we'll see, there they are. So the disadvantage of manual enrollment is it's kind of a lot of steps. However, if you've just got 1 or 2, it might be easier for you than a CSV upload. It's sort of a matter of preference. So we'll go to the next one. The CSV upload, okay? So you could upload this, like if I have 50 users, it would take forever to manually do all of that. And you could have a CSV file with all of this information. And I'll just kind of put some things here, give you some tips on what these mean. This is one that it might look something like this for the fields. So you might have an employee ID number, and the field name that Totara needs at the top of your CSV file for that column is ID number, lowercase. You do need a time modified for that, and that needs to be in Unix timestamp. And so what I do is I have a website. You can just Google Unix timestamp, and I can put in the time and it will make it for me, because those get a little bit long and I've never learned how to do it. And then I can just put that in and fill it all the way down the column. First name, last name, email address is key and required. Username would be, in most cases, all lowercase, no spaces, no special characters. Your password depends on your site password policies. And again, that's under site admin, server, and under your server settings, security, I believe. If you are using the hierarchy, and there's an organizational hierarchy, and you'll see later that can really help when we're pushing out learning. So let's say you wanted to assign somebody to a department. You would have an org ID number in your hierarchy for that, and you can put that number in there. You do need a column called deleted, and that's required. And if you're not deleting them, which you're not, you're adding a new user, you would put 0. If you were deleting a user through a CSV file, we would put a 1. The authentication method, okay, that means how will they be authenticated, all right? So some of them that we might talk about is there might be a Google authentication for single sign-on. You might do LDAP through Active Directory. So you will put in there how these users are going to be authenticated. Okay. Now we put job assignment, and what we would do is put the number 1 if that's their primary job, their manager ID number, their manager job assignment ID number. So that would also be a 1 for job 1. And then if you were going to enroll them in a course right away, you could put course 1, and then whatever you put in that field has to match the short name of that course. Okay. So then to upload it, there's what's called an HR import in Totara. So once you have your CSV file ready to go, and just a little trick, instead of doing a very massive upload, I would say, you might want a couple test users that you test this out on first. That will help with troubleshooting and be less frustrating. So instead of the whole massive 500 users or whatever it is at first. So you go to Site Admin, and then you're going to go to HR Import. And let's see, we're going to go to, let's see, you would need to have Manage Elements. And right now I don't have user enabled on this test site. And then we could go to the user and upload it from here, okay? And I may have to do some things like setting it up for the CSV file. This is like a one-time setup, and I should have practiced how to go. And I'll save changes. And then settings change, okay. Okay. And then from here, we can go to users and configure source. No. Okay, and this is going to tell you this is another very helpful place. This tells you what things you're going to include. So we're going to do this. We're going to do job assignment ID. If you have these fields, then what you're going to do is include those. What's nice is they tell you down here what the CSV file upload should be. Okay, so we'll say we've configured the file. Okay, and then from here, okay, let's see here. Then we can go to HR import, and we should be able to upload. Okay, and I might have something wrong here, but usually there's a link right here when I have it configured right, and then I'm ready to upload. Another thing that's really helpful in the HR import, when you have it uploaded, then the next step is to run the HR import. It will turn green if it took everything. If not, it'll tell you what errors there are, and it'll link to the HR import log. And this is a very helpful filter that you can use. but it will show you line by line what happened, and it can help you troubleshoot if there is an issue with your CSV file. Maybe this was a recent problem that I had. There was a user that it skipped, and when I looked at that user, in their username they had a capital letter, and it told me which user didn't work. And so the HR import log can be really helpful in troubleshooting that. Okay, if we go back here, let's talk about some more methods. Today is really meant to show kind of the high-level view, and if you're interested in getting more help, if you're a client, we can help you. If not, we can talk to you about support that we can provide for you. So another common thing that we do for a lot of our clients is called LDAP, and this is a more automated way. Then each method is getting more and more automated. So the first one was the manual, then the CSV, but an even cooler way is to set up LDAP. So if you have an Active Directory, we can do that, and you go to Site Admin, Plugins, Authentication, LDAP Server, and there are a whole bunch of fields that have to be set up correctly for LDAP to work. And one thing that I have learned watching our technicians do this is that everybody's Active Directory is organized slightly differently. So a lot of times what we do is we have a little manual, and we ask for a picture of how your folder structure works, because there's an actual string we have to put in there that puts OU equals, and we have to name all of the folder structure in there in order for the right users to be picked up. So that's kind of an important piece. Also on the client side, you would have to open some ports in order for this to work. And there are two types of LDAP, and we can do both. There's the normal LDAP, and that works for the majority of our clients. And sometimes we have to do a secure LDAP, which is a little bit more work on both the client and our side to set up, but we can do that as well. And how LDAP works then is when somebody logs in, before it can work, it goes back and authenticates that they have permission to log in, so that if somebody were terminated, it would see that they're no longer have LDAP access, and all of their data would stay, but the user would no longer be able to log in. And LDAP syncs up at certain times, depending on when your cron jobs are set to run, which is another site admin setting. And then it syncs all of the most recent user information that it's authenticating against. So that's a really nice, slick way to do it. A nice thing about LDAP when it's set up properly is users can sign on then to Totara the way that they normally would to the network without another username password. Speaking of single sign-on, more and more corporations are going to Google, and they may not have an @gmail.com. It still might be, for example, we are a Google company, and our email ends with @eClassforlearning.com, but it's really powered by Google. So when you do that, we can set up single sign-on with Google. We do have experience with that. So what happens then is people can click on the button and log in with their same credentials that they would use for email in Google. If they're already logged in Google, I believe it just takes them right in. We have discovered some extra security code that we do put in there just to kind of lock down that it is your domain and that nobody outside of your domain can get in. So if you're interested in that service, let us know. We do have experience with that. Now, for those of you that are trying to sell courses, maybe you want to sell a specific course. Well, what happens with the PayPal that's built in for that is that they are enrolled in the site and the course all at once. So I have one of our clients here that has that set up just so we could kind of look at it. So if you've already logged in, it looks like that. If you are the first time, this is kind of how the workflow works. So you're going to fill out a new account with your first name and last name. Then this one is sent with email authentication. So you'll get whatever email you put in there, you'll get an email at that address in 5 to 10 minutes. You want to check that it didn't go to your spam or junk if you don't see it. And it will give you the link to the course, and your account will be confirmed. So what you're doing with that is you're verifying your email, and then you select the course that you want to participate in. At this point, you're going to see a PayPal link, and this is a common thing that's confusing to people. You really don't need a PayPal account. That's just the vehicle by which it's called the payment gateway that Totara is using, and you will actually pay with your credit card. And it's just that PayPal is the payment authentication process, and you'll just put your credit card in there. Then you'll receive a confirmation that you are paid, and you'll be allowed into the course, and you now have full access. So that's kind of the workflow for if you use PayPal. Now, that is kind of a lot of steps. We do have some better e-commerce ways of doing that, but that is built in. It's free. It works. You just have to have a PayPal account, of course. The other thing that we are doing for more and more of our clients is we are working with WordPress and to sell courses. And we use some plugins on the WordPress side that interface with Totara. And so this is an example of one of our clients. And some of the advantages of this is, first of all, WordPress has a lot better templates and looks for selling online than the PayPal one that we just looked at. And so it looks a lot better, especially when you're trying to sell to people. So there are very good templates that we can use. The other thing is WordPress has awesome search engine optimization, and Totara does not. So the likelihood that if people put in mediation courses, so this client teaches courses for lawyers on how to do mediation. If you did that, this one would be more likely to show up much higher in the Google search than one where you just put the front page of your Totara with the PayPal. In fact, that one may not show up at all. So, you know, if you're trying to sell to a wide audience and make money, obviously search engine optimization is really, really important to you. And then what happens in this is when you click on the card and you set up your credentials and give them your credit card and all of that, it enrolls you automatically in the correct course, and it sends them an enrollment email with their username password. Now, every time they log in, they could log in through the Totara site, but they can also more likely log in through this site. And that's really useful too, because there might be other products and courses and things that you're trying to sell that you can put in here, and then they're taken right into the Totara. The other thing eClass for Learning does is we try to match up the themes. So we try to match a theme that will look a lot like this so that the whole experience is more seamless and the user doesn't really feel like they've left WordPress and went to Totara as much, and that it feels like one user experience. And so that's something we've done for a lot of our clients as well. So again, if you're interested in having a setup like that, let us know. We can do a free consultation with you and kind of find out what your e-learning needs are and e-commerce needs and kind of put a solution together for you. Now, another thing that you can do is self-enrollment. and that could be at the site level or it can be at the course level. Now at the site level, I would put some cautions. Your site is less secure if everybody can self-enroll. Now we have worked with some of our clients, and I'm going to show you one that uses site enrollment, self-enrollment, I should say, and we have put some security things in there to help make it a little more secure. Because that means if you didn't put those things in, just anybody could enroll. And you can have self-enrollment too, where people have to accept you too, like a human, but theirs is just done with self-enrollment. And so this is the Girl Scouts of Orange County, and they have like 8,000 members, and it would be too hard to work on giving everybody username, password. So they let them create their own accounts for their volunteers. And so when you create a new account, it kind of works like this. And they put all of their information in. They do have a required field, so you can add custom fields, service unit number. For some of the security, to make sure that robots and stuff don't get in, and hackers from other countries, we do require CAPTCHA, and we do have an audio if people can't see it. And we also have locked the site down so that it will only take from IP addresses in California. So that also helps with hacking and things of that nature too. So yeah, be a little careful. You have to have a good use case to do site-wide self-enrollment. Now, if you had everybody in the site and you wanted to do self-enrollment for courses, I see a lot of people do this in schools, actually, for the self-enrollment. So they upload all of the students are in the site, but they let people self-enroll in courses. So let's talk about how that gets done. If I go back to my, let's see, if I go back to my test site, let's try here. Yep, okay. And I go to a course. So let's just go to navigation courses and let's go to a course. So we'll go to my blended learning course here. What I do is it's under course admin. So you have to first open the course to set up self-enrollment for a course. And then you go to users, and then you go to enrollment methods. And this shows me what enrollment methods I've enabled for this course. So I've said that it could be manual. I have not enabled guest access, but I could. And I could also enable here self-enrollment. Okay, now let's see what other settings I have. Yeah, I thought so. You could also set up an enrollment key if you want, and that's how I see schools do it a lot. So a teacher maybe doesn't want to manually enroll their whole class. That might just take a lot of time, and if you teach 9 classes during the day, you know, it's a lot of work. So the teacher might give the kids the enrollment key and class and face-to-face class, and then they have to put that in to get into the course. Okay, so that can work. And what will happen now is if I go back to my courses. Okay, see about the home. Let's go, let's get that course showing. Edit settings. There'll be a little icon to show me now. So I'll go to this like so, and I'll go to here so that I can see courses on my front page, which I didn't have set up. And now I'll go to the home. Now this will show self-enrollment, okay? And if I click on it, users would be able to self-enroll. Once, right now I didn't, if I were a user and I had an enrollment key, then they would be asked to put that in. Otherwise, if not, when they click on it, they would now show up in the users that are enrolled in the course. And they only have to do that the first time. Okay, so that can be a real time saver as another enrollment method, depending on your use case. Okay, let's go to another one. So we did LDAP, Google Single Sign-On. Any questions, feel free to put in the question area. I'd be happy to answer those. So another thing that you could do is guest access. And I actually on my slide, it is site-wide or course-wide. The guest access is kind of an interesting role. Guest means that you don't have any privileges to do anything interactive. It's just read-only rights. Okay, so you couldn't take, like, for example, a quiz. You might be able to view the quiz, but you couldn't take the quiz. You might be able to view a discussion board, but maybe you can't add to it. So some use cases when people might want to do that is if they are previewing a course to see if they want to purchase it. I've seen schools use this for maybe parents, just so they can see what's going on in the course and what the assignments are, but they themselves can't do it. Again, there are a couple ways to set this up. So if I go back to my, if I want to do it from the site admin, go to site admin. And what I'm going to do here is plugins, I believe. And should be one on, let's look again, plugins, authentication. Okay, and then manage authentication. And then under here, there should be one for guest access with settings that we could work on. And this is where you can manage the different settings and turn on different authentication methods too. Okay. The other one, let's see, did I get any questions? Questions yet? Okay. The other thing you could do is just put guest access on a course, okay? So people only have read-only rights. I sometimes do this when I present too, so that people can get the resources, but I don't want them maybe responding to anything in the course. So in the course, we have to go to a course and open up a course. So let's go back to this blended learning. It's very similar to the self-enrollment. We're going to go to users, enrollment methods, and now you could enable guest enrollment. And that means that you could click in without having logged in or have been enrolled in that course and have view-only rights. Okay, so that's another option that you have available to you. And I think what's good about this webinar is if you're just getting started, to kind of see the different options that you have available to you, and that can help you make some decisions as to what authentication methods you're going to use on your site. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about are some Totara terms, because you can push out learning once people are in the system in a variety of ways, especially if you set up those hierarchies that we talked about a little bit before. So we're going to go over these a little bit slower, but I'll just kind of give you the overview and then we'll do these one by one. So an audience can be a specific group of learners, and an audience you can set up. It can be dynamic, so maybe it picks up something in a user's profile, like their job assignment, or it could be static. Maybe they're new employees and you're going to add them to an audience, and you manually add, you kind of go to a pick list and add them. What's nice is once you've created an audience, you can push out a series of learning to an audience, or you could pull a report on those audiences too. So that's one term to understand. Learning plans can include things like competencies, which is part of a hierarchy, courses, programs, and objectives. Objectives are personal goals, usually written with the manager and the employee. And one important thing about learning plans is those are created for individuals. You can create a site-wide template, like a workflow. So an example workflow of a template might be that a manager has to sign off on it before a learning plan is accepted. But it is done at the individual level. So you don't push it out to a group, you push it out to an individual. And you can assign courses and competencies. So this is often used maybe as part of the review, where after the review, some learning goals are created and they might be written as objectives and kept in the system. And the manager and the employee together might put together a learning plan, and then that would be done on an individual level. Another way you can push out learning is recurring courses. And that's courses that recur at a set time frame for the entire group. And it's part of the program management. So what that means is, let's say everybody needs to take the bloodborne pathogens class every September. And it's a reoccurring course that I want everybody or a certain audience to take at a set time, and it's going to reoccur, and it's going to re-enroll them at that time. Now, a certification is similar, but it's a little different. It has a learning requirement that is met. It has time restrictions and expires after a certain amount of time and is tracked by the individual. So a use case might be that, let's say somebody is certified in CPR and their certification is good for 2 years after the certification or after the completion date, and my completion date might be different than somebody else's. The system will track that, and you can specify when you should re-enroll them or start sending them notifications that they need to re-up their certification. So that's kind of nice. And then their manager can see too what certifications are coming due for their different employees. A program is a group of learning, and you can designate that maybe a program has a certain order to it. So first you have to do this course A, then once you've successfully completed that, you go to course B, and then course C. Okay, let's look at each of these a little more in depth and how we would make these and how we push out learning. And again, feel free to put questions in the question bank. That always helps make sure that I'm getting at what you want to see. So in Site Admin, to get to an audience, we would go to Users, Accounts, and Audiences. Okay, and if I'm going to add a new audience, I would name it So I could say test audience. And if it's going to be system-wide or if it's only going to apply to a category that I have set up of learning, okay? And then you should make, you don't have to, but if you're going to be using CSV uploads for audiences, you might have a number. And then this is where I decide if it's set or dynamic. Okay, so let's leave it on set for right now. And then I can have a start date and an end date if I want. I can send alerts to people that either they've been added here, okay? And if I wanted to add tags to this, I could, and save changes. Now I have a pick list, and so I can start adding people to my audience, okay? And I'll add, okay. And now I have my audience, okay? And back to audiences. And now they're there. Now I could upload an audience. If I was going to do a dynamic audience, let's just call this dynamic. What I can do then is instead of set, I can go to dynamic and I can go to save changes. And then here are my rule sets. Make a user a member when they meet this, or remove them when they don't. And then I can add a rule. And I could say choose position names, contains, and I could say department. Okay. And then and I can keep adding rules based on that. So I could do it by their position. I could do it by something in their profile. I could do it by their organization ID. I could do it by a number of things. And then it would auto-populate from the system based on those things. So that's another way that I can create an audience. Then a lot of the other audience types, not a learning plan, but a program or certification, we can, or a course, can be assigned to an audience, okay? So that's how that can be done. The next thing that I had on my list is a learning plan. Okay, that's another way that people can be enrolled in learning, is if it's in their learning plan, then they're automatically enrolled. Okay, so if I would go up to, let's see, my record of learning, let's see, and oh, okay. Let's go up here. It might be in a different place in Totara 9. We used to have, that would be under my learning, but I think now it's under my profile. And yes, it is. My learning is now over here in learning plans. And a learning plan we could create. And so I'll call this my test learning plan. And from here, I can create the plan. And I could pick out courses. And these courses, so I could set up here. And I'm going to go to this course. And that's now going to be part of it. When the user hits launch, after it's been activated, and depending on the template that I'm using, I might have to get approval, then they're enrolled in that course. Okay, we could also add competencies. We'll add that one and save. And then we can add objectives, and you can write one. Global awareness. Okay, and then we can add it. And then if there's any programs that have been created that we want to add to this learning plan, we can do that. And then we can activate it. So that's another way that a user can be enrolled into a course, is when it's assigned to an individual learning plan. Okay, let's do certifications next. That would be another way that if a course is part of a certification and a user is assigned a certification, then they're going to be enrolled in that. So that would be under Site Admin Courses. And we go to Manage Certifications. And we can add a new certification. You decide where you want to house that certification, under what category. I can call it Test Certification. We'll call the short name the same. And then I think we will choose an icon if you want to. I'll allow extensions. That would go to the manager, by the way. And now I can look at content. And so here I can say I want to add courses, and I could add these two if I wanted to. And then, and so now the learner will be, whoever's added to this certification, they're going to be enrolled. Stay. And let's make sure I save that. And then we're going to go to assignments. And so this is where the cool thing comes. So if we set up our organization, position, or audiences, we have all these options. So it could be, if I go to my audience now, add audience, and I could go to my test audience, and anybody that's in there, so those 3 people will be, you know, asked to do this. Okay, and maybe I even give them a completion date. I can save my changes. I can work on notifications. And so it gives me some things that I might want to say, but I can definitely tweak that. I can also have all these other kinds of notifications set up if I want to. I think I get to, some of them are time sensitive, and you can set up the timing of when and how. So how many days after, and then you can put the subject and the message. And save changes. And then I think it doesn't like that I didn't put anything in there. Okay, so we can just put test and save changes. Okay. Then we can also decide how long it's active for, and how long before we notify them that they need to recertify, and let them get started at that, so that there isn't a gap. Okay, so that's another way that people can be enrolled into learning, is through the assignments tab in certifications. Now, almost identical is the program. And so under Site Admin, it's very similar. Courses, Manage Programs, and we can add a new program. And you'll notice that it's going to have an assignment thing and just like it. And so we can do it from the either an assignment that we set up, the org ID, or the position in the hierarchies. And these hierarchies that I'm talking about are under Admin Hierarchies. And so usually when we start a new client, this is kind of where we start. And you would go to Organizations, Manage Organizations. And so here I have a little hierarchy where I have a CEO in Department 1, and these can be nested. And these get linked to the users and their profile. And then we can use that to push out learning and pull it. And the same for positions. And we also enter the competencies that you want to assign to different learning through the competency hierarchy. Okay, any questions so far? Okay. While you're thinking of questions, I will also just point out new webinars that are coming up. Those can, if you go to www.eclassforlearning.com and go to webinars, we have them listed. And so today's was on enrollment methods. And by the way, we would love it if you suggested webinar topics. Some of our best webinar topics come from people suggesting those, so just send me an email. In fact, the next one on August 10th, Designing Courses for Bright, Technical, Busy People, was suggested. So that one should be a lot of fun. Then we're going to talk about on August 17th what's new in Totara version 9, and there are some neat features. If you're new to Totara, this was a request by some of our regulars that come to those. How do you set up your first course? And so we'll be going over that. And then on August 31st, we're going to be talking about making learning social with Totara Social. And that is a very neat product that helps collaboration within your organization. So I hope you'll consider joining us for those. And again, feel free to submit topics. And thanks again for joining us today. And if you think of more questions or you weren't able to attend live today, please submit those to us. Thanks much.